Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. Great to be back with you on a Monday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We made it back. We made it back alive from Norman. Well, we'll dive into some more thoughts on Nebraska-Oklahoma. Your help wanted. Can dial us up at 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Numbers to join. Can find us on Twitter. Give us a follow. Chris Schmidt at Schmidt_radio or at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. There's a number of you that were down in Oklahoma, down in Norman. And what a trip, what a time, and what a almost, right? What an almost for Nebraska football and a signature win for Coach Frost and this team. So we'll dive into that on the docket today. We'll catch up with a couple of Huskers, time permitting. Travis Vokolek, tight end for Nebraska, made his season debut. It was good to see Nebraska in two tight end personnel. That was a big-time difference. Of course, Quentin Newsom got in at corner, had a really good game, 7 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and it is a Monday with Charlie, Coach Charlie McBride, Mr. Blackshirt in hour 2, and we're about 20 minutes away from Greg Smith from HailVarsity.com and magazine. Get his take on the Torres injury when it comes to recruiting, Greg's thoughts overall with Nebraska. So you can find us also on our socials, i.e. the ESPN Lincoln Facebook page. We are streaming live, so you want to interact that way. Give us some thoughts, some takes. The Real Red Reaction, it was just a crazy scene with all of the RVs, all of the folks, and we gave you as long and as much as we could before the old data said, no more soup for you. You know, Norman was fun. And just before we get into football, it was incredible driving down in Uncle Andy's RV. We made it down. We made it back in Uncle Andy's RV. Never gone in an RV that far before. It was great to spend time with my brother-in-law. It was awesome to see my brother, Andy's folks, Uncle Mitch. It was great. But I also witnessed a bar skirmish. Nebraska fan won, so at least there was one victory there. Yeah. It really wasn't like cool, normal Sooner fan. It was a couple of frat dudes that got rolled by a champion wrestler. We'll just leave it at that. The other thing I got to experience as I'm riding home yesterday in the RV, you know, when you park the RV, there's the magic button that moves one of the walls out that turns into a living room. Well, as we're somewhere in Kansas, I was on the left side that turned into the living room, and the couch I was sitting on ended up drifting out over into the oncoming lane. So it didn't stay high and tight. It turned into, oops, Schmidt's in the other lane. And then the cherry on top was reenacting Lloyd and Harry from Dumb and Dumber as we raced, Elijah, from the Oklahoma press box to a scooter through Norman's campus back to the RV to do the postgame show. And this was a scene I wish was documented. Because
we needed video of this.
Because there was no frozen snot and me saying, just go. But poor Elijah, all 6'6" of him, he's navigating. I'm the short dude with the backpack holding on around Elijah's waist for dear life as he's zooming through to get us in a race for time. A, to see the rest of the game, B, to get set up, to get things going right as the game concluded.
Yeah, and you're behind me, you got your earbuds in listening to the radio call because there's still like 5 minutes left in the game. But we got to get back for the
We got to get back for the post-game show, and we say, okay, it's 23-9. Let's book.
And you're doing play-by-play on this scooter as we're rolling across campus.
Just trying to keep it. and like this is weird. I mean, I'm reaching up and I've got this death grip on Elijah's shoulders, and you're 6'6".
6'4". You're giving me a couple
I'm
inches.
not. There. So the point is it looked really awkward and weird. It looked like we're friends.
See, I compared it to that scene in Titanic with Jack, and they're up on the front of the
Haven't
boat.
seen Titanic.
Oh, they're up on like the front of the boat, and it's I'm flying, Jack. Well, like he's holding her.
I'm holding on for dear life, Elijah, and you're just like there's no power steering in these damn scooters, and you're trying to weave through and. We make sure that there's no oncoming traffic with the said stop sign. It was a long trek, man, from the stadium to Lloyd Noble Center.
Yeah, over a mile. I think it was encroaching on 2.
Yeah, and I have no problem walking, but there's no way in hell we would have made it. So some thoughts here as we dive in. So first and foremost, time to own up and say I was way off with the score. I said 50-17. I was right that Oklahoma won, but I was way off with what I thought Nebraska would do and how they would lose. If they lost, how would Nebraska look? And what I pictured happening is what we've seen. We've seen mistakes turn into points, turn into blowout. That's kind of been the recipe for Nebraska in some of the big moments. And it's not turned into a blowout all the time, but it has turned into, okay, Nebraska, again, lost by a possession, a touchdown or less. That's what happened here. And it was special teams and it was offensive line play that did in Nebraska. So we've heard about close. We'll hear from Joel Klatt in a moment about close. We'll hear from Garrett Nelson about close. We'll hear from Scott Frost about close. But do you feel better today? You've had 48 hours to digest about this close, just right there. What does close turn into? Do you believe that, okay, Nebraska's finally ready to do something with this confidence, with these skill position guys, with this quarterback? And God love them, the defense, the black shirts, with this defense. Are they ready to turn close into something Saturday and start stacking? They're a way better football team now than Illinois. Nebraska has gotten better. They've beaten some teams, so be it. That Buffalo, great effort against Coastal, but Buffalo's a good team. Buffalo's a bowl team. Fordham. Illinois, I don't know if they'll get 3 wins, okay? And now you roll into Norman, and Coach Frost said it best, team believed they were going to win. This isn't just smoke. They were confident. And they're still confident. They're probably even more confident after the effort they gave Oklahoma. And you're not going to play a perfect game. There's going to be penalties. There's going to be missed tackles. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be a situation where you can't run the football on a really good front seven. And that goes for most teams not named Alabama. But the things that I took away that make me think this is different this time, and maybe, again, it's Lucy, Charlie Brown, football's going to get yanked this coming Saturday. I just feel different because they didn't back down. They didn't fold. They were confident. They looked like they belonged on the field. They didn't look overmatched, pushed around, slow. They had parts of their game together, but not enough of it. We'll get into the offensive line in a little bit. But I'm truly buying into Nebraska now after what I saw Saturday in person, after what I saw Saturday with your quarterback play, after what I saw from your defense. And I think Nebraska can regroup, rally, and still have a good season. That's what the kids believe. That's what the coaches believe. But you as a fan, 466-3776, are you in agreement now after that trip to Norman on Saturday? I think a couple of things can be true. I think Oklahoma's probably a little overhyped. I think their skill guys are good. I think their offensive line's a bunch of beasts. I think their offensive line's really good. And I also think their defense is really high level. What Alex Grinch did with his layered rush to have a second reinforcement ready for once Adrian dodged the first guy trying to get him, Alex Grinch was like, look, he doesn't run for 100 yards, they lose. And that's what they keyed on. They spied him. We talked about it last week. You got to spy Adrian if you're Oklahoma. You've got the athletes to do it. You just had a first or second rounder be a team enough guy to do it in Bonita. So, does Close turn into something more for Nebraska? And I think it does, because Nebraska is now a different team on offense. They're still very flawed with their offensive line play. But you saw them be able to have some commitment and stay with the run game against a number 3, number 4 team in the country. They're a different offense, and they're a different looking offense because you have both your tight ends going. You had the Prohaska wrinkle. And, of course, you had Betts and Omar making plays out there. Touré's been incredible. He'll still be really good for you. But now you have Omar out there. We'll hear from Omar here next hour, along with what Betts did deep. I mean, you've got guys on your team on the offensive side of the ball that could go play for Oklahoma. That could go play for, pick some teams that are going to be knocking on the playoff door or part of the conversation. Nebraska has that. On top of the strength and conditioning, on top of the depth. All right. And the defensive line, I know they got gashed a little bit in the run game by 2 different backs. Oklahoma's like sick good. That Gray running back for OU's, the kid that transferred from Tennessee, is incredible. I think he's flat out wow. So Nebraska didn't have their best day versus the run, but you had guys like Quentin Newsom come up and not be scared. He made plays off the edge. You had your inside backers that all right, if they'd miss a tackle, and Nebraska did miss a lot of tackles because you just can't simulate that speed. Oklahoma's that skilled. But they were able to have 2 or 3 or 4 red pants and gray face masks around Oklahoma, so it was just a 4 or 5 yard gain after contact. It wasn't a house call, Elijah. And that was a difference. So I give a lot of credit to Nebraska. I think Oklahoma's probably a little oversold. That should take nothing away from the environment Nebraska walked into. And I think this confidence will travel to East Lansing. It's going to be a hard ball game. But I think Nebraska has every right to feel better about themselves. And they're getting better. Offensive line. Here is what we got to talk about with this offensive line. 6 penalties, 5 sacks, 38 for 95, 2.5 yards a carry. Is this offensive line going to get better? Are they going to stay the same, or are they going to get worse? Because they've got to figure out their guard spots. They got to figure out a way to get their tackles either some help or just keep coaching the kids up. And in fairness to Turner Corcoran, who had a tough day against a really good end, he'll be fine. He'll be better. But he's going through something right now that he's never experienced. The poor kid's in start 4 of his career, and I'm guilty of anointing him as the next All-American after one Rutgers game. So right now, confidence-wise, he's probably fighting it a little bit. Benhart has been better, but still a work in progress. And that's not a knock. I'm just saying that the tackles have been exposed a lot with pressures and hurries and hits and sacks. Your interior guard play. The one guy on the offensive line that's been good, and he still got hosed a little bit on Saturdays, Cam Jurgens. So Cam's playing at a get-it-done level. Nebraska needs the other 4 to do it for the sake of the running game, for the sake of Adrian's sanity. 53 and 106. 53 hurries, pressures, sacks, hits, whatever, on 106 dropbacks by Adrian this year. That's 50%. And the play action works. I mean, Nebraska did well with play action, but they're going to need to line up and smash mouth it now that Big Ten plays here, Elijah. So it's tough when you got your skill guys that are back and healthy, when your offense can look different. If you want to put 3 or 4 tight ends on the field, you can. You find a guy in Ramir Johnson that got dusted off, and he ran hard. I want to see more of him. But ultimately, it's going to hinge on your offensive line, and they've got to kick it into gear.
Yeah, and the guys that you've listed, Corcoran, Benhart, Sichterman, even Piper and Hickson, they've all shown flashes of being able to get it done. Mm-hmm. It's a question of consistency. The only guy on that offensive line who has shown consistency game in, game out, bringing it and winning his battles with consistency is Cam Jurgens. You got to find which guys in the offensive line are going to step up and consistently win their battles in the trenches. That's what it's going to come down to. They all have the ability, I think.
I think they have the ability too, but as a unit, I mean, defenses, all they have to do is pre-snap movement and then stunt, and Adrian's going Houdini and making a play, or he's hurried and flushed and hit. It's rough. We'll talk with Greg Smith. Open phones for you as well at 466-3776. What's close turn into with this team?
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Some football and recruiting now. We'll get to some of your calls and emails coming up here in the next 15 minutes. Travis Vokolek in the 540 segment on the way. We'll hear from Scott Frost. We welcome in Greg Smith, recruiting insider with HailVarsity.com and magazine at Greg Smith HV. And I don't know that he's wearing the road or the home Andy Dalton jersey, but I'm going to just say you probably got your sweetest jersey on today, don't you? Going with a little Walter?
Yeah, this would be a good day to go with a little Walter. You got to celebrate what you can, right?
Well, no kidding. And you walked right into a good point about celebration. Do you feel like there's part of the Nebraska fan base that is celebrating a loss? And I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying, you know what? That was one hell of a surprise Saturday, at least to me.
Yeah, it definitely was a surprise. It was surprising me as well. I think that most everyone kind of going into that game was kind of, you're watching a little hopeful, if you're rooting for Nebraska, and you're just kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop and hoping that it doesn't, right? And when it didn't, and Nebraska showed themselves really well and played a good, I don't even know if I can say they played a good football game. They played a tougher football game than they had in the past. They still had a lot of the same warts that they had that caused them to lose the game, but because the game was closer than you definitely anticipated, you do come away from that feeling good. But you're right. When you say the phrase, people are celebrating a loss, it does seem weird, especially considering we're in year 4, but I understand how people got there and wrote something similar on HailVarsity.com about, I do think that there were positives to take away, but at the same time, those positives only mean something if they get that other stuff cleaned up.
Well, and it's a conflicted feeling, and it's okay to feel good about your squad and the woulda, coulda, shoulda, and the kids wearing the red and white are sick and tired of you're close. Well, they want to get over the hump. Saturday is an awesome opportunity, Greg, but, as of Monday right now, I'm not asking you to say, hey, yeah, they beat Sparty. That's a tough call. Now, but do you think this they're so close actually turns into something? Does it feel real?
It does feel real because I think in part they one of the things I was really encouraged by in that Oklahoma game is they looked like a Big Ten team. That looked like if Nebraska or if Iowa went out to Norman to play Oklahoma, I feel like that's what the game would have largely looked like, right? The way that Nebraska tried to play that game and the way that they tried to, they at least attempted to maul them up front. They did not necessarily, right? But they at least tried to. They looked like a physically imposing team. team. I think that is something that can continue to translate as Nebraska has finally, it feels like, leaned into being that Big Ten style of team under Scott Frost. That to me is encouraging because I've always thought, I've come on the show and said this a lot over the last couple of years, I think Nebraska has the athletes and the talent to play with a lot of teams, but it just, when it comes to the execution, that's where Nebraska has had a huge gap over the years.
Greg, there's still been some doom and gloom this weekend about the running game and the numbers against Oklahoma. But as I watched the game, my initial reaction to it was, while it wasn't as good as Nebraska fans would like it to be, it wasn't necessarily bad. I felt it opened up a lot of play action, and 2 or 3 yards is better than 0 on first down. So where do you stand on that running game? Are you doom and gloom, or do you think it wasn't as bad as the numbers would suggest to you?
I am doom and gloom on I got to get specific. I'm doom and gloom on the running back run game. I think that Nebraska's kind of continued struggles on being able to move people up front is something that in theory will only get tougher and only get worse because Nebraska's going to continue to face better and better rush defenses throughout the season in the Big Ten. And, by the way, teams that are used to scheming for them and scheming for their run game is also an element out there. But Oklahoma, the one thing Oklahoma did a really nice job of, and they are one of the few teams that can do this, is the spy on Adrian Martinez was Nick Bonito, because he's one of the best defensive players in the country. Not everybody has that guy, right? So it's going to be a little tougher for some other teams to be able to corral Adrian Martinez in that way.
The thing that I guess I walk away with the run game is the patience with it. It wasn't abandoned. Coach Frost stuck with it and kept trying to ride it, and it turned into some nice plays with the play action. You saw Omar, you saw Betts, you saw a 2 tight end formation that did work. Vokolek's 38-yarder was money. And Nebraska's just a different offense, right? With hey, guess what? They're skill guys at full strength. What can be done, Greg, on the offensive line to touch on Elijah's question with the run game? Do they have guys, or is it just a matter of young guys taking their lumps and then being better in 3 games or end of the season? I mean, is there hope for the run game?
I think the hope that you would have for the run game is that Nebraska can kind of get out of their own way. I think that if you can, to me, the number one thing is clean up the penalties so that they're not going the other way, right? I think that that's kind of priority one, because you saw them, especially, you saw it play out in that first drive of the game against Oklahoma where they were moving the football, but those 4 penalties that happened really prevented them from scoring a touchdown. Like, if you can keep that sort of stuff away, that's step one. But it's going to be tough sledding, because I don't know how many guys you can rotate in and out of there. You've got a guy like Brock Bando who's kind of had looked like he was going to be poised to take a spot, and then he kind of falls ill, and we don't know what's happening there. And so it's going to be tough sledding to see how Nebraska goes ahead and fixes that moving forward.
Greg, I also want to talk a little bit defensively here before we get to some other stuff. When you look at the defense, they had a really good day against Oklahoma. They seem to think that they wish they could have done more. But when you hold Lincoln Riley to the fewest points he's ever scored at Oklahoma, you got to expect you're going to win the game, right?
Yes, absolutely. If you had told anyone that Nebraska would go to Norman and hold them to the fewest points ever under Lincoln Riley, 23 points, then they would have taken that all day long. I think Oklahoma in the last 8 times that they've been held under 24 points, and this is going back to Bob Stoops, have lost all of those games. Like, I think that the defense did enough. The fact that the defense really, and multiple defenders said this today, felt like they could have done more. They said it after the game. That's great that they feel that way, and they should, because you always want to be at 100% A+ level. But man, they did their part. They did enough to be able to win that football game. But I understand that they feel like they could have done more, and if they've got to score, they've got to score. But that's a tough position to put your defense in, given that performance.
Greg Smith's with us, recruiting insider, also all over Nebraska football with HailVarsity.com and magazine at Greg Smith HV on Twitter is where you follow him. Let's talk Richard Torres, ACL. He just put out a statement on Twitter not long ago. Tough for the young man, really talented arm. I know there was some Baylor interest in him. What's the latest here with his recruitment, other offers and interest, and where's Nebraska sit here with a really talented arm that has gone down to injury? I know Nebraska always sticks by kids when they do suffer injuries. At least that's been the history. But just as you kind of ballpark this, Greg, where does that leave Torres here with his recruitment?
Yeah, Torres is in a really tough spot now because if it's September and you have that type of knee injury, he was going to be an early enrollee, so we were really just a few months away from him arriving on Nebraska's campus and getting his career started early. As a quarterback, that at least getting those mental reps and being able to get in the playbook and get into the college system would have been huge. And now to potentially be doing that while rehabbing instead will be really difficult. Like that's going to be an uphill climb for him and is going to test him mentally. I'm with you 100%. I do think that Nebraska sticks with him. Everything in their history says that they will do that. It would be, I don't know if it helps or hurts his ability to continue to be recruited. He was having a solid start to his season. You're right, Baylor, among other teams, were trying to, kind of come after him and test his Nebraska commitment. But I tend to think that once he sees that Nebraska sticking with him, that'll probably be all locked up, and he'll still make his way to Nebraska in the end.
Greg, I don't want to look too far ahead here, but Adrian had a great performance on Saturday. Could potentially be his last year at Nebraska. We don't really know with the eligibility freeze how much longer he wants to be. He already has graduated. So does Nebraska feel that they have their next quarterback on the roster, or they're recruiting Richard Torres, or do you think that we could be looking at a transfer portal situation this offseason for a new quarterback?
Okay, so it's interesting you say that because before I came on with you, Jacob Padilla and I at Hail Varsity were talking about that. I think it makes it maybe a little bit more likely with the Torres injury, with Adrian's play, and that him potentially, maybe testing the NFL waters after this season, at least what it looks like right now, that it makes it more likely that Nebraska would want to bring in a transfer quarterback. I think that if you're not going to have Torres ready for spring ball, potentially even fall camp, summer weights, all of that stuff, and you go into the season next year with two quarterbacks that are scholarship quarterbacks, Smothers and Harburg, I think that you need to add a third. The tricky thing is when we're talking about quarterbacks, that can cause a lot of hurt feelings. It can get really tricky in a hurry when you're bringing in a new quarterback, especially when neither of those guys have started a game, so neither of them are established. So a guy would be coming in to absolutely compete with them. So that's going to be a really tricky situation for Frost and Radusco and Lubick to go ahead and navigate.
I'll say this. Harburg's getting the transition down and has the size and arm talent to continue to grow. And I know we've just seen a snippet of Smothers, but Manny looked like a gamer. Granted, just it was mop-up time, but he was all ready for the moment. So who's to say? We just don't know if you've got a winning quarterback in that room, right? You go recruit and then you try and over-recruit, and we'll see where it's at. And with Adrian, you would think this would be the swan song, but if, again, there's still a lot of points and wins left out on the field, and he doesn't get the news he likes with the NFL review, he could still come back and have him for a 500th year,
Right.
So there's a lot in the air there. Greg, real quick, about 30 seconds, bud. What's on the radar recruiting-wise, either visit or offer or interest here, bud?
Yeah, I think that getting Nebraska, first of all, I think it's so tied to what happens on the field. I think that if Nebraska, after a good showing at Oklahoma, can win the game at Michigan State, normally I would not say that one game really ties to recruiting that much, but I think it does in this case because Nebraska needs juice on the trail. They need to be able to get people in for visits. I think that Northwestern game visitor list could swell if Nebraska can go out to Sparty and knock off the newly 20th-ranked Michigan State Spartans. I think that will really be when things pick up.
Greg, we'll get caught up again soon. Thanks for the insight, and thanks for the takes today, bud.
Hey, thanks as always. Have a good week, guys.
All right, there he is, Greg Smith. We didn't even get to talk grilling with him. How good were those flat-top brats?
Oh, incredible.
More RV stories. I just got done unbuckling.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery, live streaming ESPN Lincoln's Facebook. Can interact that way. Open phones till 5 o'clock, and then Coach McBride will join us on Monday with Charlie, interested on his take with the Oklahoma outcome, Nebraska falling by just a touchdown to Oklahoma 23-16. 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. That theme of closeness, be it me and Elijah trying to navigate on a scooter together, Harry and Lloyd style from Dumb and Dumber, or Nebraska just so close. And Joel Klatt from, his viewpoint in the broadcast booth with where Nebraska's at. He sat down with us during Big Ten Media Days. He talked about quarterback play. He talked about Nebraska. He talked about what? He talked about one-score games. He talked about cleaning up mistakes. Nebraska still making too many. I mean, it was comical with back-to-back false start penalties, 1st and 20, and you still get a field goal out of it, and then things unravel special teams-wise. It's just too bad for Nebraska, be it the blocked extra point. Somewhere in Boulder, Greg Beekert is taking a fireball shot because somebody finally got a 2-point return to be mentioned with him. Oklahoma and Colorado, the last 2 teams to do it to Nebraska. You know, Nebraska is there in some areas, but there's still too much that claws at this team. But the difference is there was no deer in headlights. There was no overwhelmed by the moment. They felt pressure, you could argue, a little bit with the Illinois buildup. They played free and clear, and Adrian hasn't looked as good as he looked last Saturday with how well he played. Let's jump into the deep end of the pool here. We say hi to John. John, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to preface this. I don't want Scott Frost fired. I think we need to keep him for 5 years to be sure, that we meet our commitment. But also, I'm not happy. And I never thought that I would hear Nebraska people have 3 categories: win, loss, or moral victories. I just find that not acceptable. I'm not saying you're doing that, but I'm hearing that from a lot of people. And the other thing
what do you categorize it as?
I would categorize it as 20 years of mediocrity, bad management by the regents, by the president, by the chancellor, by the athletic director.
John, same story. Yeah, that's all history. Yeah. We're here, we're now, so let's talk last Saturday.
Okay, Are you encouraged or not? Saturday, what I saw last Saturday was more than I thought I was going to see, okay? Mm-hmm. But what I don't see is what I'm hearing from people that know what they know is we have 8 more games. We have 2 wins, and that Coach Frost won't be around unless he has a winning season. And what I don't like is Nebraska wanted to play a season last year. Then when it came the chance to go to a bowl game, they turned tail and ran. And now I hear people saying, well, we really want to go to a bowl game. I'm tired of getting mixed messages from everybody, and I feel sorry for the young men that are playing there because we lost this June our best running back, our best lineman, and a great backup quarterback. We have 3 quarterbacks that are playing in the country that were here in Nebraska that left. There must be a reason.
Hold on. You're telling me McCaffrey's a great backup quarterback?
What I'm saying is we have nothing better than that right now. What about the 3 other quarterbacks that left previously that are playing, starting in teams their first year out of here?
They're not starting.
There's Vedral.
Vedral's it. Everyone else is watching.
All I'm saying is we seem to have a problem keeping quality athletes.
And they also have been able to. It's one game. It's a snapshot. John, thanks for the phone call.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
And I'll say really fast, there has been quality athletes leaving the program, but I still think based on the eye test, the team this year is better even without those athletes being on the team.
Now, Wandale be awesome. I mean, Kentucky's using him, but the point is you've got a Betts, you've got an Omar, you've got a Martin, you've got other options now that you really didn't have a year ago, was it? So John's still pissed about the last 20 years. Totally get it.
Do you want to get to Klatt before we?
I would love to get to Klatt, and this is his point. And Joel Klatt's not a moral victory guy. You win against number 3, number 4 now, a team that's been told they're legit, and you almost got a win. Wasn't perfect. Should have pulled it off. You got a chance next Saturday. Here's Joel Klatt.
I just want to address the Nebraska fan base. I understand that you're growing impatient. I understand that it has been tough to watch this rebuild. But I would just encourage you by stating that team is really good that I saw on the field today. Defensively, they're tough. Offensively, they played very efficient at the skill position. Obviously, the offensive lines need to clean some things up. This came down genuinely to special teams. Nebraska, you lost the game because of 2 missed field goals and a blocked extra point. That's it. It's a 7-point game. You did enough to beat Oklahoma on the road. They're the number 3 team in the country, save for the kicking game. So it is closer than you think. I understand that it's tough. I do. I get it. For 30 years, you guys finished the AP poll ranked. 23 of those 33 years, you were ranked in the top 10 to finish the season. And listen, I know you want to compete for national championships and you want the era of the Osbornes and the Devaney's back. I understand. But just understand that this was a very deep hole that Scott Frost and his staff was trying to build out of. This team is way better than they were even last year when Gus and I called their game against Ohio State. They're tougher. They're cleaner. All of those different things. It's at that moment where they're going to have a tipping point into winning some of these games. Their last 8 football games, the losses that they've had are by a total of 28 points. So they're 28 points away from having an 8-game win streak. I'm telling you, it's this close. It's a razor's edge. If they clean up just a couple of things, they are right there. So Nebraska fans, be patient, because I believe still that Scott Frost and this group of experienced players is going to have a big win coming down the stretch of this season. They're going to beat one of the following teams: Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, or Wisconsin. I fully believe that in my heart, that they will get one of those big wins moving forward.
Joel Klatt, he's been consistent. We can go back to July, and he talked tipping point then. We'll see if Saturday in Norman was a monster infusion of – it is. It's a big infusion of confidence. Just talking to the guys today, and we'll hear from Travis Vokolek in an hour, that – they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. You got to show it.
They seem like you have the talent and the motivation to get the corner turned. They just need to actually get a win or two to turn the corner. Yeah.
But we've been talking about turning the corner for a while. And I don't know that it's going to be a car wreck when you're trying to turn the corner. I think they'll get it turned, actually. Again, could happen on Saturday. We'll wind down hour 1 at Hail Varsity Radio.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, it's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, 466-3776, 466-3776. Thanks to John for chiming in. We'll have more thoughts from Coach Frost, from Adrian, part of the presser today, and Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, is going to join us here, as he always does on Mondays at 5. Mr. Blackshirt, some insight from him on what he saw against Oklahoma. And Nebraska get his take on Sparty as well. Reminder to buckle up. 70% of people in fatal crashes in Nebraska not wearing a seatbelt. If used properly, a seatbelt can reduce the risk of fatal injury by up to 60%. Your best defense in any crash. Buckling up, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. So the theme this first hour has been closeness, right? And is that close turn into results? Does it turn into something? More from Garrett Nelson, Nebraska defensive end / linebacker, on his frustration with just being right there.
Or for us or whoever's talking to us, he always does this and says we're super close, and I'm sick and tired of everybody doing this. I want guys to be like, oh, we did it, or stop doing this, because that just pisses me off now because we're so close. It's time to give it a hump. Everybody knows that. Oklahoma was an opportunity that we just did not capitalize on, which sucks. But obviously some positives that we can bring out of that.
And listen, you had the old inch showing with Garrett Nelson. He had his thumb and his trigger finger just, like, yeah. When you're getting measured when you're 12 years old at the wall. Oh, I grew an inch.
That was a very Nebraska way to put that, too. Thumb and trigger finger, not index finger.
Well, sorry, man.
That's the Nebraska way to say it.
That's where I'm at. No, I mean, we had a wonderful trip to Norman. I want to go back to the experience because you were in the stands. Give me a number on Nebraska fans.
Oh, let's see.
10, 12?
1,000? I don't even know the capacity of that place, so I'd be
70-ish.
Tough to say, but 75. I'd say 1 out of every 10 fans in there was a Husker fan.
Okay. No, good folks that like to drink beer, good folks that like to grill, say what's up, good ball game. It was, and the RV, man, was an experience. And it was really cool to have a bunch of brats on that flat top grill that Uncle Andy had.
Yeah, the Blackstone. Oh, that thing was wonderful.
It was so good. It was so good, and the beer was cold.
I'd go as far as to say those brats were the best brats I've had in my life. Honestly.
Really?
Yes. I'm not sure what it was about the Blackstone, but those things were incredible.
I love my grill, but I kind of want a flat top deal.
After having those, yeah.
Right? I mean, they were incredible, and nothing tastes good if you're a fan after a loss, but I think a lot of you tried to make sure that beer was cold. But man, an experience to Norman. Tip of the cap to the Boomer Sooner fans down there. They took care of Nebraska fans.
That was the best road experience I've had to date as a Husker.
Okay, and it just brought back a ton of memories. Great experience down and back, and it was interesting being in the passing lane while being in the RV. We will check in. Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, next hour 2 on the way.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. It's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We are working on Coach Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie. Mr. Blackshirt going to join us, get his take on Nebraska and Oklahoma. What he see, what he like, what may have caused a remote toss towards the TV. Our friends at Go Big Redcast, good podcast with our friends at Hurrdat Media. They do an awesome job. They not only made the roadie to Norman, but they did the highly difficult, and that's get a picture with the Sooner schooner. A lot of memories of that schooner. One time it tipped.
Yeah, that was a great memory. That was hilarious.
As long as the animals were not harmed. That was one of the things that I thought was much more impressive on TV was the Sooner schooner.
It's smaller in real life whenever they're out there on the field.
Yeah, and I don't know if that thing was, if it's just kind of downsized over the years or if it used to be bigger.
Or after it tipped, okay, maybe we need a little bit of a smaller Sooner schooner. Yeah. The thing that I thought was actually more impressive in person from the Oklahoma experience was those little thunder cannon things that those guys had down the field that they were.
You're talking the Roughnecks?
Yes, the Roughnecks had their little boomsticks. I'm not sure what they're called, but those things were a lot louder in person than they are on TV. The first time those things went off, I just about peed myself.
Well, right. Why is it not a good idea to mix potential alcohol, tobacco use, and a firearm?
Welcome to the Midwest.
Welcome to Oklahoma.
Welcome to Oklahoma specifically. Yeah,
we can go there. So we'll see what Coach McBride's up to here. We'll get him tried out. But some takeaways from the game. I thought Coach Frost and his offensive staff had a really sound game plan when it comes to limiting possessions, first and foremost. Two, the play calling was high level. Nebraska really able to make things go with some of their play call. And then you saw the 2 to 3 tight end look with Prohaska and having Vokolek back along with Austin Allen. Big time. But the emergence of, and just even for a few plays, having a guy like Betts and Manning step forward, that is high level. You saw what type of difference maker Manning is, just even for a few plays. And we'll hear from Omar here in just a little bit. Let's go to the phones real quick, and Chris on the line with Hail Varsity Radio. Chris, thanks for dialing in. How are you?
Great show. Just wondering when Nebraska's ever going to have an offense that tries to score again, though. We 4 years in, and we don't score on offense. Even if we kick one more field goal and get that extra point, we still lose.
You know, Chris, you can't cross into Oklahoma territory 6 times and come away with 16 points.
Not just cross into Oklahoma territory, move past the Oklahoma 35-yard line.
No, I know. I mean, you're at the 20, you're at the 30. No, they've got to finish drives, brother. I don't disagree with you at all.
And so as much as we, Adrian's going to have every record for Nebraska quarterbacks and the most losses in the history of Nebraska quarterbacks. He's already got the most losses in the history of Nebraska quarterbacks. He looks pretty, but he can't score. Never has.
Well,
he's like the pretty boy that can't score on a date.
The thing is Adrian. I mean, the whole offense has been just Adrian. It feels like for the past 3 years. When you look at the fact that he's going to have the most passing yards. He's going to be up there in terms of rushing yards, but he also has the most fumbles. He also has the most losses. It just the entire offense has been Adrian. That's been the problem.
And we don't have we have a horrible running back coach. That guy is bottom of the barrel. He does not make a decision. We got to find a running back, and we're supposed to have all these talented guys. How come we don't ever choose a running back? This is
I'll say this,
year after year.
I'll say this, Chris. Your question about the running back rotation, right on the money because it's been inconsistent. They did pick Ramir Johnson. I thought Ramir Johnson performed well. Ramir didn't have a lot of room to run. So what they saw in practice and they used on Saturday, I'd like to see more of if it fits. But I think they're going to do. And thanks for the phone call. Go ahead.
Thanks.
Yep. Ramir's a guy that you've kind of been wondering about. He's been here for 3 years, and he had a chance to shine. He got challenged. He accepted the challenge, and he did pretty well. I mean, okay, wasn't 20 carries for 200 yards. It wasn't Amir well, but it was, okay, here's Ramir Johnson. What are we going to see out of him? And he ran tough. He ran hard. You needed that. I don't know where Stepp was. He got 3 carries from Morrison. And, bless his heart, poor Irvin with his knee. I mean, he was getting lathered up, ready to go as well as kind of a different change of pace. So where Nebraska landed on their let's spin the wheel of running back worked out well. There's just no open holes for the guy.
So I'm with Chris here, and I don't think you can put the entire struggles of the running game on the offensive line. There are times, especially when I was sitting in the stands on Saturday, and I was like, these running backs are bouncing outside whenever there are holes up in the middle. I think it's Marquis Stepp. He's who does the best job of saying, you know what, I'm going to hit this hole while it's here and take my 4 or 5 yards. And I think Ramir Johnson was doing that pretty well in the game on Saturday as the game wore on. There were a couple times when Gabe Irvin was bouncing stuff outside. I thought he was missing holes up inside that were going to get him 6-7 yards. Well, so you can't put the entire struggles of this running game on the offensive line. That also comes from an offensive lineman.
A true offensive lineman. Elijah Herbel.
But there's the continuity factor that really helps an offensive line of knowing what the running back behind you is going to be doing every single time, because every running back reads holes differently, bounces things differently.
It's a different feel.
And whenever you know what that running back is going to do, it helps you know as an offensive lineman what you need to do on a given play. So I think it's really going to be important to find a guy here in the next game or two that is going to be the guy you're going to ride the rest of the season. I don't think you can continue to do this running back by committee throughout the whole year and expect to find any success in your running game.
Here's what they don't have. They don't have a dude.
No.
Okay, they don't have a dude. They don't have a guy at running back that is special right now. Do they have a guy that can become special? Maybe. They've recruited enough guys with stars next to their name, with speed, with agility. By season's end, Irvin could have really been kind of a wow guy, but it's still a far cry from an Amon Green, right, who came in as a freshman and was incredible. It is a two-way street. It's not all offensive line, Elijah, but it's been really tough sledding for this Nebraska running game. And it's been really bad sledding for this running game behind the offensive line that's yielding 3.7 a carry and 2.5 against Oklahoma. And it's going to get nasty. It is going to get nasty Saturday trying to run the football. But what the positive you can take out is that Nebraska still kept with it. I'll say that again and double down on it. You've got a lesson learned, I believe, with the fact that Frost did not abandon the running game and stuck with it, and that helped with some play action. It's a far cry from the Illinois panic. You've at least got some patience now. And that's pretty key. We'll check in with Travis Vokolek, Husker tight end, here in about 25 minutes. We'll hear more from some of the press conference audio.
One last thing I want to throw in here before we finish up this talk of the running game was I liked how the Oklahoma running game looked a lot more. And I know they have the athletes along the offensive line, and they have Gray, who's a great running back.
They've got two good backs, man.
But look at the plays they're running. They're still running power and counter just from a modern spread system. They're pulling guards. They're pulling guards and tackles. They're pulling centers, whereas Nebraska is so reliant on this zone scheme. And what's really important with the zone scheme is a running back that can find the hole, make one cut, and get upfield. And I don't know if Nebraska has that running back in their room right now. Whereas whenever you're running a power and a counter scheme, you know where the hole is going to be. You go hit that hole, hard, and whether you get 2 yards or whether you get 7 yards, it's not on the running back deciding where they need to go, because it's the delay getting up to the line of scrimmage, and you see it during the handoff where the running back is looking at the offensive line trying to figure out where to go, and it's just a split second where they're not getting north and south, they're not getting downfield, and I just prefer that system of Oklahoma. It's what Nebraska was so good at in the 90s, was pulling guards around, pulling guards and tackles in that power and that counter scheme.
Well, and what you're doing is who's the guy that gets out and does high-level work when he's kind of on search and destroy? Cam Jurgens. Mm-hmm. He's the guy on the offensive line, and you've seen Nebraska a little bit this year, but not a whole lot with what they're asking their tackles to do. On that quarterback power, they'll pull one of the guards inside and let him kind of make that tackles lead the way. You've seen it for years with Adrian, and it used to be Hymus doing it. But now you've got a guy in Corcoran and Benhart that are, I think, seeing some ghosts right now. They're trying to kind of up their confidence because it's been a tough go for them. On the interior, you've got to fix your guard spots. And I know you substituted Hickson and you went back to Piper, and then you go back to what's happening at center with Cam. And Cam's been great. Everyone else needs to either step their game up or continue that open competition. And what's the answer? And to your point, and we'll talk to Dr. Rob Zadiska here Wednesday. I want to get his take on things. What would best suit these athletes in the body type? If you would go towards of what Oklahoma's doing, where you know where the hole's going to be, versus the zone system where, okay, you're getting in the way, and yes, you're blocking, but it's an area you're running to, and then it's kind of up to the back to make the call. Do you need it more defined? Is the question I'd ask. I mean, do you need it more defined, and is it meshing? Is it a difference in philosophy between your run game coordinator and O-line coach and your play caller and offensive coordinator and head coach? I mean, that is everyone on the same page. Now, Nebraska does get in pistol, and they have at times run some stretch out of the pistol. And then they've had some play action off of that. And then you even saw it with Vokolek, I should say, with Austin Allen, with the seam pass, the pop pass. So there's a lot of things they can do in the run game with this offense. But it just, when push comes to shove, they've had trouble holding blocks. They've had trouble moving people. And when it comes to pass protection, we've absolutely beat that dead horse. And it's now Elmer's glue with what is truly happening, and that's pressures, that's hurries, that's hits, that's sacks, and 11 sacks given up through 4 games isn't a good thing. So what can you ask your offense to do? And it's really a situation and a crossroads with, okay, quarterback's playing great ball. And to the offensive line's credit, they did give him time at times to sit and then read your progressions and hit the open guy, because you got a Betts, you got an Omar, you got an Allen, you got a Vokolek, you got a Toure to choose from, and eventually you have a Martin back. So you can really carve up some defenses if you get time, and you can cover up some defenses off of that play action, but you still got to keep the defense honest, and they've got to be able to respect your run game. And right now, they're not all working in concert. Despite not working in concert, you're able to produce a lot of big plays. Now, to Chris's point, you're still having red zone problems. You're still gold between the 20s, but not always once you get inside the 20.
And it's that field is shortening. Guys are struggling to get as open down there once the field is shortened. There's a lot more guys jam-packed in there. They're struggling to run the ball especially. That's what is really sticking out to me is how much more they struggle to run the ball inside the 20-yard line as opposed to around midfield. That really stands out to me in terms of a big problem with this run game is the run game becomes really, it's been effective inside the 5-yard line. It's been somewhat effective inside the 10, but inside the 20 just as a whole, it doesn't feel like I feel like there's been more plays made in the backfield whenever Nebraska is running the ball inside the 20s than between the 20s, I should say, as opposed to inside.
Play calling, I thought overall was good Saturday. I thought commitment and patience was good on Saturday. Execution was in Oklahoma's got some dudes as well. I mean, their front seven's pretty good. Let's spend a second on the defense, and we'll try and talk to Charlie here in about 5 minutes. Nebraska's defense was unable to get home. They missed some tackles. That's not being critical. They still brought their lunch pail, and I thought did a hell of a job against elite skill talent, against a guy with incredible arm talent in Rattler. And Spencer Rattler's been really good everywhere he's been at getting deep, just hitting the big play. And they were unable to pierce that Nebraska secondary. They run, they hit, they're physical. JoJo Doman was incredible. Deontay Williams was big time. And Newsom was nice. I mean, the confidence that Nebraska walks away with, and I know we had a caller earlier talk about, moral victory, you're celebrating a loss. And I don't think Nebraska fans are like celebrating a loss. I think Nebraska fans are probably at the point right now where, okay, that is progress. If you go down to Norman and you lose by a touchdown.
2 years ago, that same Oklahoma team beats Nebraska by that 22.5-point line.
In the first half. You hold them to 7 in the first half.
There's no moral victories for the team, but you can have moral victory as a fan.
Sure. No, I believe that. But I think where you're at as a fan right now is you're still ticked off about Illinois. You got brought back a little bit because of the Oklahoma effort. Now you want to see a win and a close win against Sparty.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Hail Varsity. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We welcome in Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, Monday with Charlie. Coach, let's get to it. Oklahoma, Nebraska, another tight one and a tough one to take for the team and the coach, but some positives there. What'd you see on Saturday?
Well, the thing I think people have to understand is that the kids on defense are starting to really go. I mean, they're starting to fly around, and what I saw was there were some mistakes, mental errors, but with their hustle and their speed, they made up for it. In fact, in 2 cases that I could see on TV, they got minus yards, and it's just a matter of fundamentals. I mean, it's a matter of repetition. It's a matter of, and when you look back, you'd like to see them get some, during the week, get some game speed, in practice. I don't know if they are. Maybe they are. But all I know is they got a good bunch of players that are young, and they're going to win. And people just have to be patient, I think. And I think that they'll just, I don't know whether the whole team will get better, but it looks like defensively they're getting a little better. A little bit more pressure would have been nice, but I look at the other things. I look at the things that, improvement and stuff. And, I think that they were, to me, I didn't walk away feeling like I lost the game. Okay. And I think that those are the things that when here I am, I'm just sitting here watching it on television, but I still have that feeling of, winning and losing. And I think that, I personally, I don't know if I could go as far as saying I was proud of the way they played, but I could come close to it because they really tried hard. Even when there were some mistakes made, they were going a million miles an hour, and that is the important thing. I mean, that's probably where I tell about it the most is when I was coaching is kids that make mistakes, but they were, I always told them, if you're going to make one, go 100 miles an hour when you're doing it,
Charlie McBride's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. No, I thought the defense played well enough to help the team win. Coach, what do you, you're a longtime offensive line coach. I mean, I know your career was on both lines, and what do you glean with the offensive line between pass protection and minimal rushing yards?
Well, I think 2 things. I still go back to that theory that, it's nice having great, big, huge guys and that kind of stuff, but it's also good to have some guys that can really, really bend their knees and do things. They're getting beat because they're not getting down and getting to a point where they can readjust. In other words, they start out and then they start getting taller and they get beat inside, especially. I noticed they got beat inside a lot. And, I said before, this is the one thing you don't do. The first thing you tell them is don't ever get beat inside because that's the shortest distance to the quarterback. But, I think the thing is once you put your hand on the ground, your motor better start running. Or I'll be coming out on the field after you. I mean, that's kind of the way that's the way they have to understand it. I mean, it's, it's just something that is there. I think it's all fundamental. I think and the other thing is you'll find a lot of the bigger kids takes a little bit longer. As you know, in the weight room, let's take a kid with shorter arms and the kid with longer arms. The kid with shorter arms can bench press more than the kid with longer arms. But that doesn't mean he's a better player.
Sure.
But that's simple. I mean, and so the same thing goes with your legs, your feet. When you're pass blocking, you got to split your body in half from your legs to your hands. I mean, I don't know if the kids can understand that, I think. But when you're a run blocker, whenever you make contact, you never stop your feet, ever. And when you're doing a drill, you never stop your feet. And those are the things that you keep doing in practice. And if you go out and fire out and your feet stop, you're dead. And if you got a guy that's shorter than you probably, and you're 6'8", 6'9", they get underneath you, you're not going anywhere. So you have to understand, that's why I'm talking about staying low.
Sure.
And you have to be boss. I don't want to say, you have to be ugly.
You're cleaning it up for radio. I know you are. I can see it. Charlie McBride's with us here, Coach. I mean, all of that makes a ton of sense. Did you think the game plan was good, though? I mean, I thought the play calling and I thought the patience with the run game paid off when it comes to some of the play action stuff. I thought Scott had a good plan.
I'll tell you something stupid.
Okay.
But game plan was fine.
Yeah.
There was I don't think anything wrong with that. I think the one thing is when you go back and you look at things, 2 missed field goals, 1 block kick, you get those, you win by 1. Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of, and that's not realistic, but that's the way I look at it a little bit is, so you clean up your special teams. And I know how hard that kid, how bad he feels. That you don't have to tell me how bad. He's going to be a better kicker because of it a lot of times, and when he gets in the game, you watch and see. When he gets in the game against Ohio State or Michigan, and it depends on him, he's going to win the game. It just this stuff hurts him, and his concentration becomes better. And in special teams, I think the one thing is I've always believed, and we went through a little bit of this, and Tom finally said something we always wanted to hear. We got to get our better players in there. So that's what I think.
Coach Charlie McBride's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, and Coach, we've been kind of having this discussion today of how should the fans feel about this game. Is this something you can be happy about even though it's a loss? And I kind of want to ask your opinion, but phrase it more in the team aspect of things. I know they're disappointed that they didn't get the win, but is this something that you can build upon as a team to give you confidence as you move into the conference portion of your schedule?
Oh, they're good. I think that they're doing a lot. I think they're doing a lot in their hearts. Okay. I mean, it's easy for me to see as a coach a little bit. I think the offensive line is trying to be good, trying to do the right things, and trying to do everything they can to win. I think they're all on the same page, and I'm happy about that. I mean, I'm not kidding you. We've been through enough bad years. I think I see things improvement that I didn't see with other teams. I just saw the same old thing over and over. And we had penalties. I understand that stuff. And a lot of it has to do with sound, noise, and all kinds of things. And those things hurt. We get 2 penalties right off the bat. I nearly went through the television.
Knew it.
I'm going like, no, don't do this again. But and then we miss a field goal, and you miss a 51-yard field goal. I'm sorry, I don't have to say, hey, that's terrible. I can turn it on Sunday and watch guys miss 30-yard field goals for extra points. Mm-hmm. And so those things are going to happen, but it still is a matter of getting the kick blocked, and I don't like the idea of changing kickers.
Gotcha.
at a point when it's really important. That's not a good idea.
Coach, real quick, a thought on Michigan State Saturday. How you feeling?
Good.
Okay. I know you know Sparty pretty well.
Well, listen, you got to be careful. These guys got some small guys, and they can run, and they got speed. And they're winning. They're 3-0. They're all jacked up. They're probably jacked up better than they really are. So you got to go out there and you got to lay the wood to them right now. You can't wait and decide, well, I'm going to do this in the second quarter, or you got to start out from day one and hit them in the mouth and get after them good. And that's how you usually slow it. They go, but they got their. Listen, let me tell you what, after last week and they saw the game, what they're going to say is their offensive line isn't very good. We're going to be able to run stunts on them. We're going to be able to do things, penetrate. We're going to be able to do this and stop their running game. So what we got to do is make them one-dimensional, stop the running game, and then tee off on them on the pass rush. And, that's not I've been through this a lot of times, and that's exactly what I'd say is if I was playing Nebraska. And so those are the things they're pretty simple to figure out.
Coach, we will talk to you next Monday. We'll see if the Big Red get it done up in your neck of the woods. That sound okay?
Okay. Well, I can't go because I have a little bit of doctor job on Friday.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I'm going to go see what I got going. Okay.
Gotcha. Hey, will you take care, Coach? We'll be in touch.
Okay, good. Okay. Have fun. Okay. we'll win. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we will win. Okay. Bye now.
See you, Coach. There he is, the Coach McBride guarantee.
I haven't heard him that emphatic about Huskers will win.
No, he's pretty guarded with it.
Yeah, I haven't heard that yet this year, I don't think.
No. But he... I
don't even remember hearing it last year.
He's pretty close up there with Sparty. I mean, as far as just folks on staff and people he knows with the program, and he sounded pretty optimistic about the defense and what's trying to go on, and good, quick little hit.
I mean, that defense is for real. It's not just a good defense for Nebraska. It's not just a good defense for the Big Ten. I think that's a top 15 unit in the country. It has the potential to be.
They're 26th now. We'll see if it carries over. 2 tight end look. We talked to the mulleted man, Travis Vokolek, next on Hail Varsity Radio.
He's in his 30s, but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmitty on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, preteen Swedish boy.
A few minutes today, Travis Vokolek with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. Travis, back in action after rehab and recovery. What were the nerves like, if any, as you went out in Norman Saturday?
Yeah, there's a little bit of nerves, like for any game. But walking out there before the game and, just taking it all in and realizing I'm finally back. And I got through the rehab. I'm back stronger than I was before. Just was awesome. So it was a great experience and a good game to build off of.
How'd you cope with the injury mentally and physically? Obviously, you put the rehab in, but no one wants to get hurt, and you really busted it looks like, to get back.
Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating when I found out, about the injury in camp. I was really upset because I wasn't going to be able to be out there with the teammates. So, I really focused on the mental aspect of the game. I had a script for every practice. I was there for the guys. Just being there with Coach Beck, just being dialed in mentally is what I really focused on.
What's it like to play for and get coached by Coach Beckton? We enjoy our interactions with him. You get to see him every day. How does he help you grow?
Yeah, he's the best in the business. I believe, we call him the OG. So he's a great coach. He truly cares about his players, and you can tell by that. And it's great to, all the guys in the room really love him. He busts his behind for us, and he just wants to help the team win.
Let's talk about your reception and, without giving away state secrets, just the design. And it's not the first time Coach Frost has put together ways to get the tight ends open. And, men were you open. It was a great throw, wonderful catch. How brutal was that sun to try and locate it?
Yeah, the sun really wasn't there to bother me.
Okay.
Yeah, I was worried about that safety coming from the backside, coming and laying me out. But, Adrian had a great ball. And, like you said, Coach Frost always finds ways to get the tight end the ball. So it was a great catch. I'd give all the credit to Adrian and O-line for protecting him.
How fast and physical was Oklahoma?
Oh, they were a great team. They are very fast, had really good D-line. Their whole defense in general was really fast. So it was tough. It was good to play, a Big 12 team. I've never done that before. So it was a good experience.
What was the message afterwards? I mean, great effort, but you guys are just kind of to a player, just some of the comments, you're tired of being close. So mentally, how do you move forward?
Yeah, we talked about, there's not really a moral victory. We thought we played decent, but, we're going to try to build some momentum off the way we played that last game and headed into the stretch of Big Ten games.
So where can you go momentum-wise? Great point about taking that with you, but on the offense, what can you put in your back pocket for next week?
We've got a lot of stuff coming. Practice today was great. Good first day of the week. I'll just say we got some stuff dialed up for this game, so we're excited to get out there.
Let's spend a minute on the run game, and you're really important to that. You and Austin, and then even Big Teddy came in that multiple tight end look. And what did you kind of feel and sense in that third quarter? Really nice job with the jumbo package, so to speak. It helped kind of get the run game going. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. We want to get as many tight ends out there on the field as possible, and I guess you can say Teddy's a tight end. But we want to get all the big guys out there, the block, and line around the perimeter for our running backs to run behind us.
A couple more minutes here. Travis Vokolek with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. So what's it take to play tight end in the Big Ten?
I'd say grit would be my explanation. You got to work on blocking, and then you got to also work on catching passes and running routes and stuff. So tight ends like to do it all. So it's a very fun position to play, and fortunate to be coached by one of the best in the business, Coach Beck.
Size and speed combo, matchup issues. I mean, it's a game changer for offenses. Who do you like to watch or pattern your game after? What are some tight ends at the next level, or even in college, that you keep your eye on?
Yeah, always watch Kelsey, always watch Kittle, and then Darren Waller. Those top three, they're great players. Seem like they do everything right. Always find ways to get open, and then once they catch a ball, seeing what they can do after contact. So.
What have you had to work on more as a tight end? Is it your blocking? You're a big dude, or is it your route running? I mean, what critiques along the way here in your career have been the most challenging?
I'd say everything. Coming out of high school, I was a scrawny kid, very underweight. So at that point in my career, I'd say I need to work on my blocking, just working on getting stronger. And then I got here, I had the size, the strength, and had to work on my footwork and then also my routes and stuff and getting out of breaks pretty quick. So just a combination of everything.
What do you know about Michigan State?
I know they've got a great defense. My dad's a coach at Northern Iowa. And he said he worked with a couple of coaches over there, so I actually was on the phone with him last night, and he was telling me some stuff about their defense. They always have good linebackers, always have good DNs, probably always have a good D-line. We're excited for the opportunity, and we're ready for this week.
Have you had a chance to play him yet, either between Piscataway or Lincoln?
Yeah, I played them, I believe, my last game at Rutgers. It was at Michigan State. It was a rainy day, caught a ball across the middle. I remember this. Caught a ball across the middle, got flipped on my head, kind of like what happened to Borkature the other day. I played them. They're always a great team, hard-nosed football team, and always work hard, always play fast.
So we've got to get a Mullet update. All right, we're day number what on the Mullet?
Man, I started growing this right before COVID happened.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a while. Been getting it trimmed up. So I'm trying to get more guys on the team to grow them, and specifically in the tight end room. I'm trying to get Oz to grow one, but don't know if it's going to happen.
What's the bargaining position to do that? Because he's always kind of been a high and tight guy, hasn't he, with his haircut?
Yep. Yeah, it takes everything. I've tried multiple times, and I just don't think it's going to happen. So,
Travis Vokolek with us. Travis, nice to spend a few minutes with you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
There he is, Husker tight end, made his season debut and a big 38-yard reception. And, man, you're going to see plenty of tight end usage. You had a lot of kids step in, specifically Hickman and Chancellor. They did nice work with the starting tight ends done. But, again, a different offense, a better offense when you have both those tight ends on the field.
Well, and I still can't get over that 4 tight end set down on the goal line. Well, it wasn't a true 4 tight end set.
It was Prohaska with a number in the 40s on. But he's played well. And I just, when we talk about the offensive line, and we'll get more into this as the week progresses, and we'll get a hold of Quentin Newsom. We spoke with him today as well. We'll have that interview this week. He was awesome. Did a great job of coverage and run support. Kid out of Georgia, really played well. And he came in, him and Braxton both. I mean, you saw some of those young guys not afraid of the moment and really do well.
Well, yeah, they went after Braxton Clark with that deep ball.
He should have picked it. He should have picked it, but he was
great
perfect coverage. Yeah, and he's 6'4", and so it's all good. But no, Nebraska has the ability here to put some things together again with the 5 big guys up front settling in. We'll wind down on Monday next.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, it's Hail Varsity Radio presented by the Nebraska Lottery. So we enjoyed Coach McBride. You heard from Travis Vokolek, Greg Smith with us. Plenty of your reaction as well. So I'm getting texted. Junior just got done with football practice. And he is wanting me to run to, well, I'll just say it because we love Hooksy, some chickens for a chicken sandwich. And I'm like, that sounds really good. But you realize, Monkey, that's his other nickname, Junior or the Monkey, that I bought kebabs. We didn't grill. It's not horrible outside. Time is ticking away between being able to use the grill again, and it's good marinated kebabs. And I bought him part of it was a smaller fillet, but I bought him a fillet last night, and he didn't eat most of it. I mean, it's sitting right there for him.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there is a Slim Chickens within walking distance of Lincoln Southwest.
Yeah, but he got picked up from football practice. And just like Vogel told us, steaks are for winners. Chicken sandwiches are for players. Practice is one thing. I got to see game minutes, baby. He had homecoming on Friday.
How'd that go?
It's good. He had a suit. He had a dark suit, white shirt, a little blue tie going. And
what shoes did he end up going with? That's the main concern for me.
He shook his mother down for new dress shoes, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, we don't know where the suit coat is. We don't know where the suit pants are at. It was that good a homecoming. Kidding. And his shoes are over to Buddy's house. So someone's dog probably charred this. I'm like, your name's not, your last name's not Jordan. You can't just get rid of a suit and wear it once. You cannot grow that thing totally, but you better know where it's at and take care of it.
Put that thing up on Craigslist afterwards. Like,
well, he probably will
recoup some money.
Yeah, it wasn't his money. He'll probably absolutely try and like recycle and sell it. Knowing him, he's probably listening.
Worn once, great condition, like new.
Message back. We have kebabs. We have steak. We had that last night. What a little jerk.
See, leftovers are like one of the greatest joys in life, in my opinion.
I think so.
Like whenever you make a good meal and you go, oh, this is awesome, I can have this again tomorrow. Like, I'm not even out of this. I can just keep eating it and for free.
Mm-hmm.
Leftovers, like, in a Tupperware, one of my favorite things. Like,
depends what it is.
See, I'm not a big breakfast cereal guy.
Yeah.
So I would much rather just heat up last night's dinner one more time for breakfast.
No, it's okay. I'm not judging at all. Tomorrow on the show, Rick Pizzo, Big Ten Network. We'll check in with Jacob Padilla. Mitch Sherman will join us from The Athletic. And it's a Tuesday with Kaz. Rick Kaczynski going to be joining us. I'll let you know how this argument turns out. Check the show out. Give us a rating, good, bad, or ugly. The podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for Hail Varsity Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the interaction. Thank you for following us to and from Norman. And we're back tomorrow at 4 with Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.